Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng was contemplating the materials for the 24 forms life form, and he could also sense Morosa's cultivation progress at any time. Morosa is digesting very slowly this time, Luo Feng noticed. It took Morosa more than 100 days to absorb the blood, and only then did he start to consume the muscles, very carefully and meticulously. After more than 1,000 days, he had devoured all the bones to exhaustion. After consuming all the fragments, Morosa opened his huge bloody mouth and directly swallowed the several billion kilometers long tail into his domain. With this gulp, Morosa began his transformation. He reverted to his true form, his body surfaced with snow-white scale armor, and his entire body started to radiate a holy light, as if it was meant to cleanse everything. This formless aura made even Luo Feng's heart tremble. Did Morosa just naturally evolve his physical body right, after breaking through to the second realm of the godly king? Luo Feng silently marveled. For cultivators, even if they broke through in their realm, they still needed to comprehend the corresponding secret techniques. Just like how he himself must comprehend the 24 forms and obtain the 24 forms materials, and combine them with the formless, an intangible ability to finally transform the physical body. But sector beasts, being perfect life forms from birth, had a perfect trajectory of growth, heading straight for the ultimate. Laws of the physical body. Laws of domain. Laws of assassination. All sorts of secret techniques are naturally understood as they grow to the corresponding levels. After he completely digests his food, I must compare our strengths. Luo Feng was quite looking forward to it. Shen Yu, this little fellow, has also broken through. Luo Feng realized that his second disciple, Shen Yu, had finally broken through to the primal chaos realm. Asterisk. Blade River Sect, the main hall of the sect headquarters. All of Luo Feng's registered disciples had already arrived in the hall. As a sect established by the overlord of the land of origin, the Blade River Sect was relatively new, having been established only for just over a century. The only ones qualified to enter the main hall of the sect were Luo Feng's direct disciples, registered disciples, and 2 elders. Brother Shen Yu is truly amazing. This time in closed-door cultivation, he directly advanced to the primal chaos realm. He's the first in our Blade River sect to break through to the primal chaos realm since its establishment. The registered disciples were both envious and hopeful, also looking forward to the day they would break through. Suddenly, Moyu Qingyang, dressed in a cyan robe, walked in. Big senior brother. Big senior brother. Each of these registered disciples respectfully greeted him, as the big senior brother was after all the first disciple under their master. And he was also the disciple of Elder Luo Sa, holding an indisputable status within the sect. Moyu Qingyang nodded with a smile and briefly chatted with his junior brothers and sisters. Big senior brother can still smile. This time, Brother Shen Yu has become a primal chaos realm being, soon to be an elder, on par with Elder Luo Sa in status. Cultivators, ultimately it's about personal strength. Big senior brother is still lacking somewhat. These registered disciples were outwardly enthusiastic and respectful, but they also knew some of the internal dynamics of the sect, and naturally, they were more convinced by Brother Shen Yu. Soon, Brother Shen Yu, dressed in blue robes, walked in. His knife had completely disappeared, but as a being of the primal chaos realm, his life level was naturally much stronger. Brother Shen Yu. Brother Shen Yu. The registered disciples were even more sincere and respectful. Second junior brother. Moyu Qingyang also looked at his junior brother with a smile, quite emotional. He had tried very hard. Yet, He couldn't reach the primal chaos realm through the bloodline path, while his second junior brother was an unlimited godly body on the law path, and had already reached the primal chaos realm. Their talents were too far apart. Xinyu also looked towards Moyu Qingyang, politely saying, "Big senior brother. Second junior brother, your breakthrough is a joyous occasion for the whole Blade River sect," Moyu Qingyang said. "You're the first primal chaos realm being nurtured by our sect since its establishment." Xinyu smiled and replied, "In the future, the Blade River sect will see many more primal chaos realm beings emerge. I'm merely going ahead temporarily, it's nothing special. And with big senior brother's accumulations, I believe it won't be long before you reach the primal chaos realm." "I'm still far off," Moyu Qingyang chuckled self-deprecatingly. The two direct disciples conversed while the registered disciples listened on. Suddenly, an intangible aura enveloped the area. Moyu Qingyang, Xinyu, and the 10 registered disciples all looked up towards the main hall above, where Luo He in a silver robe was seated on the throne, and to his left was the former elder. "Master." Moyu Qingyang and Xinyu, the two direct disciples, immediately bowed respectfully. "Master." The registered disciples followed suit. These disciples had all gone through hardships to join the Blade River sect. They were well aware that throughout the land of origin there were ancient and terrifying beings, and among the many neighboring nations, the monarchs of Sha Kingdom and Yu Kingdom, as well as City Lord Luo He, were prominent figures. To be disciples of City Lord Luo, he was definitely clinging to a powerful support. "Luo Sa is in closed-door cultivation, and couldn't come." Luo Feng looked down and smiled. "Xinyu, you have achieved the primal chaos realm in such short time, which shows your exceptional talent. From today onwards, you will also become an elder of our Blade River sect." "Yes," Xinyu responded. Luo Feng waved his hand. Immediately, a complete set of Chaos Realm Supreme Grade weapon secret treasures flew out, along with a green and a black jade vial. "Grant a set of secret treasures, 100 billion cosmic sand, and 10 treasures to assist in cultivation," Luo Feng said indifferently. Xinyu looked at the treasures flying towards him. He could feel that each weapon secret treasure was terrifying, each likely a supreme item among the primal Chaos Realm treasures. A complete set probably worth 200 to 300 billion cosmic sand. And the 10 treasures assisting in cultivation, those were rare treasures hard to acquire in the outside world. Yet, the 100 billion cosmic sand was the most common among them. "Thank you, Master," Xinyu felt at this moment, appreciating the advantages of having a terrifying overlord as a master, casually granting what would take him eons to accumulate on his own. The other disciples also watched with envy. The master, truly generous. Luo Feng, however, did not think it was much. In many border countries, joining the primal chaos realm could grant one a primal chaos prefecture as a fiefdom. A fiefdom was worth more than what Luo Feng had given. Of course, the primal chaos prefecture fiefdom was by slowly accruing minor benefits over time, and was a way to completely bind a cultivator of the primal chaos realm. Once they left, they had to return the fief. What Luo Feng granted was outright. Moreover, as the disciple grew and established merits, more would be granted. This was why cultivators were eager to have super-powerful individuals as their masters. As Luo Feng grows stronger, these treasures will seem trivial to him. Yuan, who was watching by the side, was also a beneficiary. Primordial crystal spirit fruit, and even treasures from sacred places that suited cultivation in the primal chaos realm, Luo Feng had given plenty to Yuan. For Yuan, Luo Feng provided wholeheartedly. Because he was the second pillar of the human race. For Xinyu, Luo Feng just treated him as he normally would a direct disciple. Naturally, there was a difference in the resources provided to both sides. And Yuan's talent, Luo Feng could feel it was much more formidable than Xinyu's, already possessing the strength matching that of a guest official of the Primal Chaos Realm, pinnacle of Primal Chaos Realm strength. Yuan, drawing from some inheritances in the Flame-Wind Ancient Country's Inheritance Palace, forged his own path. His true body and illusionary avatar now bore no distinction, each manifesting identical strength. But forging a path was exceptionally difficult. Yuan, not following the orthodox origin Tao of the world, instead merged illusion and reality. The illusionary path was his own creation, while the real path was the origin Tao of the world. Only by merging the two could illusion and reality integrate. Forge a path is quite challenging. Luo Feng glanced at Yuan beside him. He himself had opened up the great Tao of life and death, and had yet to fathom any branch of the great Tao. Inside the Star Tower. After nearly half a century of devouring and absorbing, Morosa had assimilated all essentials from the primordial bloodline creature corpse, and had stopped cultivating. How do you feel, Morosa? Luo Feng looked at Morosa, who stood before him in his true form, draped in snow-white scale armor, with even the top scales naturally forming a crown-like shape. Morosa stood there, a holy light naturally illuminating everywhere, his formless majesty terrifyingly extreme. I feel great, Morosa looked at Luo Feng. I feel stronger than even you, master. Ha ha. Luo Feng laughed. It seems you want a beating. Master, just try. I don't believe you can still beat me. Morosa felt an unprecedented strength, the evolution of his physical body and the natural growth of his soul, combined with the great Tao of destruction origin, made his spiritual will also grow continuously, reaching the bottleneck of a godly king's limit. The novel, F.I.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In every aspect, Morosa felt fearless. Let's give it a try then, Luo Feng said, and a silver-clad Luo Feng appeared beside him. Boom. The silver-clad Luo Feng transformed into a dazzling silver blade light, slashing towards Morosa. Morosa stood there, bathed in holy light, which illuminated everything around him. As the silver blade light approached, it slowed down. When it was about a dozen feet away from Morosa, the silver blade light completely stopped. Master, your avatar can't even touch me, Morosa said with a smile. I'm not like the flawed second realm godly kings of Sha Kingdom. I don't have any weaknesses. Domain, energy, physical body, close combat. My avatar. I can't break through my domain, Morosa looked at Luo Feng. Interesting, Luo Feng watched Morosa. Then I'll give it my all and see. Thunderous roars tilde. Suddenly, a huge figure descended from another layer of the Star Tower space. It was the immensely majestic silver-clad Luo Feng. This tremendously majestic silver-clad Luo Feng, whose aura was no less strong than Morosa's, held in his hand a gigantic blood shadow knife. Now this is interesting, Morosa observed the majestic giant silver-clad Luo Feng, grinning broadly. Come on, I'll let you make 3 moves first. Feeling incredibly confident, Morosa, having absorbed a primordial bloodline creature, had greatly grown. He had naturally realized many secret techniques of the second realm of the godly king. He felt that any move he made could handle his master. You are letting me make 3 moves. Luo Feng's body was 1/3 of a world life form. Controlling such a body was a substantial burden on Luo Feng's spiritual will. However, just by triggering the moves ingrained in the blood shadow knife, it was still possible for Luo Feng, and this was also his strongest state, without using the Star Tower. Morosa looked at Luo Feng leisurely, standing there and letting Luo Feng make his moves. Boom. Luo Feng struck with his knife, and the blade light shone brilliantly, dazzling Morosa. An incredibly dazzling strike. It gathered all the might of Luo Feng as a vast world life form, and then unleashed it all at once. This explosive force cascaded forth magnificently, reminiscent of the crushing stars of the Lai Yuan technique. By the time Morosa sensed this, he was already hit. First, an intangible force infiltrated and eroded Morosa's body. By the time he realized he had been struck, that overwhelming force was already upon him, inevitable, rolling over Morosa's body, his body being eroded, sliced, minced, crushed, and obliterated. Various destructive forces merged, annihilating this body. The Master is indeed the Master, able to unleash such formidable might even at the first realm of the godly king, truly terrifying. Morosa, with 99% of his body crushed, still had invisible energies regathering, his blurry figure speaking, "But Master, I am a sector beast. Do you think it's easy to kill me with moves from the great Tao of destruction origin?" In the blink of an eye, Morosa had fully recovered, the holy light shining brightly all around him, unscathed. 2 moves left, Morosa smiled at Luo Feng, continue. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised looking at Morosa. The prowess of 1/3 of a world life form only required a small amount of spiritual power to trigger the blood shadow knife techniques. In terms of sheer power, it was already 50 to 60% of Emperor Gui's shoes. Of course, the techniques fell far short of Emperor Gui's shoes, who, like Wuxing God King, had comprehended ultimate realm secret techniques. Truly worthy of being a sector beast, Luo Feng remarked, before striking with his knife again. Swoosh! Blade light carved a scar through heaven and earth. In an instant, a new scar appeared in the world, which also pierced through Morosa's body. Though Morosa's body was healing, it was hindered by the scar of heaven and earth. This move is weaker in might than the last, but it seems to sever everything. Morosa felt the surprise and asked, "Master, what do you call this technique?" "It's a special grade inheritance I studied which contains a secret technique, quite powerful even at the second realm of Godly King, named Unity. Luo Feng did not hide it from Morosa. This Unity secret technique can be divided into 3 realms: Foundation, 6 Paths, and Unity. I am currently at the level of 6 Paths, proficient in 6 different techniques. Morosa admired, "Master's secret technique is very powerful. It should possess 30 to 40% of the power of my technique." Luo Feng's expression darkened. What a tough guy. The third move. Luo Feng's expression darkened, and he merged as one with the blood shadow knife in his hand. Boom! A rainbow light flashed. That same rainbow light had already entered Morosa's body, and once inside, it explosively detonated. An immensely tumultuous force violently surged in all directions, devastating the insides of Morosa. "Master, are you playing with self-destruction?" Morosa felt the wild and terrifying force within his body, but showed a hint of confidence in his eyes. His body rapidly expanded under the blast, like a supersized balloon. Yet, his body withstood the frightening explosion. Whoosh! The rainbow light in Morosa's body flashed, and had already escaped to the outside world. It was Luo Feng holding the blood shadow knife. "This is not self-destruction," Luo Feng, holding the blood shadow knife, said. "This avatar of mine has only burnt 1/10 of its power. Direct self-destruction was too inefficient. This was an explosive technique from the Unity secret method. The more body burned, the stronger the power." Of course, Luo Feng burning such a vast amount of energy was already the limit of what he could bear when wielding this technique. "Just 1/10 inflicted injuries on me. If it were a full explosion, indeed it could cause me to lose 30 to 40% of my strength." Morosa looked at Luo Feng and reflected, "Master, being in the first realm of Godly King, you are indeed a bit too strong." Luo Feng was somewhat speechless. That last move had been his strongest. This Morosa was already much stronger than himself. "My strongest suit is not killing the enemy." Luo Feng looked at Morosa. "Come on then, it's your turn to make a move. Go ahead. If you can, destroy this world life form avatar of mine." "Good." The real Morosa looked at Luo Feng, his whole body's light erupting suddenly. Boom! In an instant, this level of Star Tower space was engulfed in a vast whiteness. The entire space seemed to be cleansed, and Luo Feng was naturally eroded by this light. Such potent erosive power, Luo Feng stood still, his massive body showing ragged wounds, yet they were also continually healing. Luo Feng looked up and surveyed the surroundings, his skin already tattered. I can no longer find him by realm alone, Luo Feng silently lamented. As the master of Star Tower, he could control everything within Star Tower at any time. And he was also Morosa's master, so he was very clear about Morosa's current state. Morosa. At this moment, he had fused with heaven and earth, this layer of Star Tower space had become Morosa. Master, be careful. A terrifying force approached, as if the entire space was being flattened, also compressing Luo Feng's body, but even when flattened into a silvery river, Luo Feng's world life form remained intact. Destruction. There was also an invisible attack, suddenly striking at every life structure of Luo Feng's life form. But these invisible attacks were relatively weak. Each life structure of Luo Feng was like a small world, capable of defending against them. Morosa consecutively executed 30 different techniques, but to no avail against Luo Feng's avatar, which held the energy reserves of 1/3 of a world life form. Even an emperor personally acting would need several techniques to clean it completely. Master's world life form has too strong a recovery ability, Morosa stopped. The rate at which I'm depleting it can't keep up with Master's recovery speed. You're very impressive already. The vast silvery river condensed into Luo Feng in silver attire, your current strength, among the second realm of godly kings, can already be considered pinnacle level. On par with Emperor Gui Shu and Wu Xin God King. Having ventured into treasured lands with the members of Reincarnation Tower many times, Luo Feng had seen much, and was naturally able to judge Morosa's strength level. Peak of second level of God King realm. Morosa pondered. In terms of the complexity of moves, you're still quite behind Emperor Gui Shu and Wu Xin God King, Luo Feng said, but you're more well-rounded. And the explosive power of a perfect life form is certainly high enough. In the realm of cultivation, he was inferior. But Morosa's foundations were too deep. Without a single weak point. Still too weak, Morosa shook his head. I've heard that even at the peak of the second realm of godly king, facing emperors or monarchs, there'd be no chance of resistance, at most just enough time to reincarnate. Both emperors and monarchs are, after all, ultimate realm life forms. And as rulers of two major ancient countries, they possess powerful secret treasure weapons, strong enough to rival pinnacle sector beasts, Luo Feng explained. At the level of Emperor Gui Shu and the others, when facing emperors or monarchs, indeed their only option would be reincarnation. Even among those at the peak of the second realm of godly king, the few who could escape from emperors or monarchs were Wu Xin God King, the boat master of the time-space lonely boat, and a few others whose escaping abilities were at an inconceivable level. Even my world life form, Luo Feng said, the damage you inflict to me can't keep up with my own rate of recovery. But facing emperors or monarchs, a few more moves, and they could completely annihilate my body. Even if you strike 100 times. With the speed of an emperor, 100 strikes could happen in the blink of an eye. It wouldn't take so many moves, Morosa looked at Luo Feng. If they can rival a pinnacle sector beast, they should be capable of breaking the braided cage. They could directly banish you from the source world, throwing you outside the braided cage. Without the ability to return. I'm afraid, in an instant, a world life form would be annihilated in the primordial space. Luo Feng was startled. Banished from the source world. Do you now know about the power of pinnacle sector beasts? Luo Feng asked. Yes, Morosa nodded. The power of a pinnacle sector beast is much greater than mine right now. And their moves are far more terrifying. I suspect that even the use of secret treasure weapons by emperors and monarchs of the two great ancient countries can only match a sector beast. But they wouldn't be able to stop its destroyer. Not able to stop it? Luo Feng was puzzled. It's just that their strengths are comparable. Like me, sector beasts can have many avatars, Morosa said. At the same level of existence, even 3 or 5 would not be able to stop it from destroying. Luo Feng pondered. Sa the Novelier.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Sector beasts, being perfect life forms, grasp the complete great Tao of destruction origin. And they have numerous avatars. An intimidating thought. It must be the ancestors of both countries and the ancestor of the East Extreme Domain, and also the Emperor Qing, who is beyond God King, Morosa speculated. The ones a pinnacle sector beast truly fears must be them. But those ancestors won't easily make a move, as you've said. Their attack power has a God King ultimate realm limit, and their realms are exceedingly high, Morosa said. As long as they can't instantly wipe out all the avatars of a sector beast's counterattack would also cause severe damage to both ancient countries. By now, Morosa had a vague sense of the direction of many high-level moves, and was very aware of how frightening his future could be. If pinnacle sector beasts had no resistance, I'm sure they would have been overpowered and imprisoned long ago, Luo Feng agreed. Morosa, Luo Feng asked, how much primordial bloodline biological material like this time would you need to consume to reach the ultimate realm? I haven't even reached the limit of the second realm of Godly King myself, Morosa said. To become ultimate realm, I reckon it would take another 20 or 30 portions of similar food. 20 or 30 portions. Luo Feng felt a great pressure upon hearing that. That's equivalent to 2 or 3 whole primordial bloodline creature corpses. Each comparable to the previous food. To think, one entire corpse could be refined into 3 to 5 shares of primordial bloodline. The value was astronomical. If I slowly absorb the power of heaven and earth, there's also hope of reaching the ultimate realm. It would just take a very long time, Morosa looked at his master. Lesser quality food would do too, but the quantity needed would be much greater. No rush, Luo Feng waved his hand. I'll wait until my own power is stronger. Master, I have good news, Morosa looked at his master. Good news? Luo Feng looked at him quizzically. Now that I have reached the second realm of Godly King, I can fully mobilize the pathway of the great Tao of destruction origin within my body. Morosa smiled slightly, and suddenly the vast and complete great Tao of destruction origin appeared in this level of the Star Tower's space. Luo Feng watched with joy. A complete great Tao of destruction origin. The two ancient countries had a way for guest elders to observe the complete origin great Tao, needing 800,000 merit points for one era, and the longer the observation time, the better. For example, the great Tao of life origin, Luo Feng had observed for more than 200 eras. The higher one's realm, the more new gains one could make in observing the great Tao. Although Luo Feng himself had many treasures, the merit points he had earned in the Flame Wind ancient country were not enough, not even enough to exchange for one era. Morosa can mobilize a complete great Tao within his body. Does this mean I can observe it permanently? Luo Feng was extremely excited. Luo Feng looked up. The complete great Tao displayed by Morosa. At first glance, Luo Feng saw a colossal being with 6 curled horns seated cross-legged, the 6 horns faintly signifying the 6 directions of the path of destruction. In a moment of distraction, the complete great Tao of destruction origin transformed into a dark red terrifying monster, its gaping maw as if to swallow everything whole. Various appearances manifested in Luo Feng's observation. He understood that following any one of these forms, he could forge a path. And all paths ultimately led to the same goal, the complete path of destruction. Master, my true body here is maintaining the great Tao of destruction origin. Should I send an avatar out? Morosa couldn't help but speak up. Go ahead, Luo Feng waved his hand. Immediately a simple-looking Morosa avatar, with Luo Feng's permission, quietly left the Star Tower to delightfully enjoy life outside. This video will end here.